Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Now in its 54th year of operation, this 2.5-mile, 12-turn circuit nestled into the mountains of Sears Point is almost 160 feet of elevation change from its lowest point to its highest, and in combination with its short straights and lack of heavy braking zones, passing always seems to be at a premium. And welcome everybody to Sonoma Raceway and week number 4 of the Ray Esports Racing League's winter season, brought to you by Grassroots Motorsports Magazine, Spec Racer Sports, Common Gear, and new this season, Grass Paddock Motorsports, here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Greg Ginsburg with DJ Clark in the announce booth, and of course we've got Jonathan Grabowski in the virtual production trailer. And for those of you who may be joining us for the first time, we've got 9 weeks of action across 4 different classes here in the Ray Esports Racing League. We've got Spec Racer Ford, who you can see on track right now as they're starting their qualifying session. We've got Spec Miata, and new this season, we've got 2 different touring car classes. We've got the Volkswagen TDI Cup cars, as well as the brand new to the iRacing platform Toyota GR86 Cup cars as well. And each class will race 6 different times over the course of this season. And so on tap tonight will be 2 20-minute sprint races. First up is going to be Spec Racer Ford, and then we've got those 2 touring car classes all competing for the 3rd time this season. And if you're looking for some Spec Miata or Global MX-5 Cup action, don't worry, we're going to see them next week at Barber Motorsports Park. But don't turn off the camera, or don't turn off the YouTubes, don't turn off the TV, stick with us. It's going to be a great night of racing here this evening. So welcome, DJ. Great to have you back after a well-deserved week off.
Thank you very much. It's good to be back here, and it's great to be around a track that can really only be described as a driver's delight. This is, Greg, one of my favorite tracks to go out and hot lap on. It really and truly rewards some aggression and some bravery and some fine-tooth driving as they go, and I am very excited to see what these drivers can do, although, as you said, it's more than a little difficult to overtake around here, and so I think the biggest way that we're going to see any passes get done is if a driver makes a little bit of a mistake and puts one wheel wrong.
Well, you know, if it weren't for the fact that the only time I've hot lapped Sonoma was in a Chevy Caprice rental car, I'd probably have higher thoughts of it. But it is actually, it's a very challenging track, and it really does have very good flow. I mean, the elevation changes, your hands are always moving. You don't get a lot of rest at this track. But you know, after a while, after a couple of laps, you can, you know, not, you don't want to close your eyes, but you can kind of feel your way around based on how the car reacts to the changes in camber and elevation and what have you. And you know, whether it's called Sears Point or its original name, or Infineon Raceway or Sonoma Raceway, tonight's venue is definitely going to be awfully tough on our drivers. And so to see how tough it's going to be, why don't we hand things over, DJ, to Morgan Burkhardt, who's going to give us tonight's track guide of Sonoma Raceway.
Hello everyone, my name is Morgan Burkhardt for Delta Sport US, and welcome to Sonoma, California, the 2.5 mile 12 turn racetrack. And we're just coming down into turn 1. It's a flat out kind of bendy corner. We're kind of come track right to make a straight line to 2 and 3. Just get on the brakes and nice straight line, keep the car balanced. Little maintenance throttle up across the apex to using all of the track on the left as we come back to the right for this fast chicane section. Just a little lift on the entry, keeping it tight to the left so that we can use a lot of the track and carry as much speed as we can over the top of the hill, braking towards the end of that curb, floating through this unsighted corner, coming into this long right-hander. Just keep it right to the inside, flow as much speed as possible. Over the crest of the hill, we're going to turn in and hit the brakes, just dab them lightly so the car doesn't get too weighted, keep it tight, and just maintenance throttle all the way around to get the car to rotate a little bit, and using all the track on the exit. And now we get a bit of a breather as this track is incredibly busy. We're gonna look just at this horizon over here, gonna come just over the crest of the hill, hit the brakes, make this a double apex corner, maintenance throttle all the way through to get the car to rotate, coming out, using all of the road that we can, flowing as much speed as possible. And then this little chicane twisty section is almost but not quite flat out. You use the curbs to get the car unweighted and weighted and rotate it, and that's how you do it flat. Using as much track as we possibly can, just kind of flowing the car through here, minimal steering inputs, hard on the brakes just for a couple seconds, down a gear, as into the apex as quick as possible, dropping a little bit of a tire on the exit, not too bad, hard on the brakes, just the entrance of the cones, late apex, get as close to those tires as we can, shortest distance around the corner, throttle early and use that to rotate the car as we're coming out of the corner, exiting down this front straight here. And that is a completed lap at Sonoma Raceway for Ray Esports.
All right, thanks so much to Morgan Burkhardt for tonight's track guide of Sonoma Raceway. And you know, DJ, you could almost hear it in Morgan's voice. And you know, granted, he is only like 16 or 17, and maybe the pitch is a little high to begin with. But you know, he was definitely struggling to describe what he was doing around this race course as he was hustling that GR86 around the course. But he may have had a tough time of it in the GR86s. But as we're now over halfway through qualifying, actually 2/3 of the way through qualifying, DJ, Morgan Burkhardt, he's your provisional pole sitter in class.
Yeah, he's got about a tenth and a half over Beans Forrester here at this point, so that's going to be a good run for Morgan, and I think that's going to be especially crucial around Sonoma. Like we said earlier, this is a hard place to overtake on. Track position is going to be key, so if you're able to qualify up in that front row, up in the top 5 or so, that's going to set you up for success here today.
Yeah, it definitely should. It definitely will. And interestingly enough, we're watching Josh Soto sitting up in 4th. I think, DJ, when we were here last season, it wasn't in Spec Racer Fords, but it was in the Spec Miatas. We saw Josh Soto start at the rear of the pack and work his way all the way up into 2nd position in a 20-minute race. And I think there were somewhere along the lines of 24, 25 different Spec Miatas in that race, so he definitely can find his way around this track rather quickly. But he finds himself right now only about 100th of a second off of Charlie Vaccaro's time here, as they've both got 143.3s here, and things are pretty tight as it looks like Vaccaro has just now taken his car back to the pits. I suspect that he probably is going to be calling it a session. Real quick before we wind things down here, as we're watching Megan Overstreet right now working her 5th flying lap here in qualifying, looking to improve upon the 143.68 that she just turned in. Let's quickly take a look at how we finished up in Spec Racer Fords, and I think we're also, since they're not racing tonight, we'll talk about the Spec Miatas as well. But the last time the Spec Racer Fords raced was 2 weeks ago at the Circuit of the Americas, home of the United States Formula One Grand Prix, where Morgan Burkhardt took the win. Murphy Nichols finished second. Beans Forster finished in third, with Jim Brewster and Megan Overstreet, who we were just watching there a moment ago, rounding out the top five. And the point standings here after 2 races, they raced both at Circuit of the Americas and also our opening round. Morgan Burkhardt currently leading the field with 51 points. Megan Overstreet with 37, currently sitting in second after that, I think owing a lot to that run that she had at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in round 1 for the Spec Racer Fords. And then we've got Jim Brewster and Beans Forster separated only by a single point. Brewster with 33, he sits in third. And not only that, Beans Forster is currently tied with Andrew Wozencroft. So we have a tie for 4th place right now. Sitting in 6th is Justin Huffman, only 4 points back from there in 28 with 28. So still really, really close in the Spec Racer Fords. If we do take a look here briefly, we're going to spend just a tiny second here with Spec Miata, since they're not racing here this week. And as we mentioned, they'll be joining us next week at Barber Motorsports Park. It'll be both the Spec Miatas as well as the Spec Racer Fords next week. Giancarlo Schooler took the win at Road America. That was last week, with Caleb Patry finishing 19 thousandths of a second back from Schooler. Beans Forster finished in third. Murphy Nichols, Morgan Burkhardt, your top 5, and Josh Soto, who I think had started, and Josh Soto started 24th in the Spec Miata field, and he had managed to work his way up to 6th. I think he had made up like 12 positions on just the very first lap. And if we take a look at the points, again, very, very close here. Giancarlo Schooler with 46, Morgan Burkhardt 5 points back with 41. Then we've got Beans Forster with 35, and then it is a 3-driver tie for 4th position right now. Andrew Wozencroft, Lewis Lockshine, and Jim Brewster all have 25 points, with Deacon Greenfield sitting in 7th, just 3 points back from there. And so it looks like, DJ, we're running down to the end of qualifying here, as the checkered flag is now out on the session. We just saw Morgan Burkhardt call off his last flying lap. He's increased his advantage over the rest of the field. He put in a 142.65 on that last flying lap, giving himself almost a quarter of a second advantage over Beans Forster. Charles Vaccaro, who is from the San Francisco area, raced Spec Racer Fords here at Sonoma Raceway. This is his home track, doing quite well here in the 221 machine, and looks like he has finished his last flying lap. There's Josh Soto working his 7th and final lap.
Yeah, working his way through there and having to avoid a spun car there on the exit of the carousel there. That was a little bit of a hairy moment for Josh,
yes,
but he's able to keep going, and credit to him for doing so.
Yeah, and thankfully that was, I think, far enough downstream from the exit of the carousel that he had enough time to not only prepare for it, but he also, was able to slide that car over driver's left and set himself up for that double apex right-hander at turn 7. And may have lost a little time, but it didn't seem to impact him all that much. We'll see here as, again, he's on his very last flying lap as the checkered flag has already been displayed. We've got a few drivers still out. And yeah, that's gonna end things for Josh Soto, obviously, as he gets it wrong going down into the hairpin. And little slick down there, and you have to obviously always be careful about weight transfer. And looks as though he just had the rear end walk around on him as he moved back from braking to maybe was still in the brake slightly, trying to get the nose to bite and turn in, and had the rear end walk away from him.
Yeah, that's a very easy thing to do, and that's a really easy thing to do across this entire circuit. It's a pretty slippery track surface here all the way around, and watch for some areas where drivers are going to have a little bit of problem on corner entry, like going down into that turn 11 hairpin. Also look for some loss of grip coming through this area that we watch Ray Blethen coming through right now, coming through the S's. Very, very easy to lose a little bit of lateral grip on the tires, especially if you mount up over those curbs, and if you get off into the dirt around the outside of this circuit, well, that's a one-way ticket to disaster.
Yeah, and it looks like Blethen, the session had already ended, and Blethen had already completed his last flying lap. But yeah, you see here, it looks like there's actually some grass growing through the dirt, but a lot of that sand and gravel and dirt gets pulled onto the track surface as well. That really creates some issues with grip. So DJ, let's take a look here. Here is our starting grid for our first race of the evening. It is of course, Spec Racer Ford, and your pole sitter with a qualifying time of 1:42.652 is Morgan Burkhardt, with Beans Forster starting right next to him on the outside of row number 1. Then we've got Charles Vaccaro and Josh Soto. They'll start 3rd and 4th today, with Jim Brewster starting in 5th. Megan Overstreet trying to improve upon her 2nd place standings in the championship. She starts 6th today. Josh Justice will start in 7th. Trenton Kramer will start in 8th, with Andrew Wozencroft and Chris Montgomery rounding out the top 10.
In 11th, it's going to be Justin Huffman, followed by Deacon Greenfield in 12th. Then behind them, it'll be Bradford Gould and Stevie Ray, then Bradford Gould. Then Stephen Blethen will line up 15th, followed by Mike Taylor. Then Joaquin Effinger and Raymond Blethen in 18th. 19th is Wayne Buttermore, and Caleb Patry will round out your 20-car grid.
Yeah, and interesting there to see the 198 machine not put a time in during qualifying. He's going to be starting from the back of the pack. Of course, we talked about Caleb. He finds himself towards the top of the leaderboard currently. He's actually our championship leader, I believe, in the GR86 Cup cars, and looking for a good outcome here in our first race this evening. Real quick, DJ, let's talk about our sponsor for tonight's first race. It's Spec Racer Sports, and their mission is to help fuel and support your addiction to road racing. And Spec Racer Sports delivers by providing the parts and services you need when you need them at a fair, competitive price, all with exceptional customer support. Located trackside at Motorsports Ranch Houston, Spec Racer Sports offers exceptionally prepared Spec Racer Fords for rental and for sale, in addition to storage and support. They also offer technical services such as chassis dyno work, driver coaching, and fabrication. Find out more about Spec Racer Sports and their services by visiting www.specracersports.com. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, DJ, but looks like whoever's behind the wheel of that Porsche 911 pace car, he's got his foot in it tonight. he was hauling down through the carousel and the tail end of the drag strip there. Looks like Burkhardt and Forster have finally managed to get up to him, and the rest of the field now you can see starting to form up here all the way to the back of the field, all 10 rows deep.
Yeah, very much having a good giddy up there for that Porsche pace car, but now as it works its way down through turns 9 and 10, it's about ready to pull off here, and we're about ready to get the green flag and go racing for this 20-minute race.
All right, pace car is on the pit lane, or on the entrance to the pit lane. Morgan Burkhardt now has the field. They're going to come around that last little left-hand bend, and then they will take the green flag, as it looks like Wayne Buttermore, he's kind of splitting the difference there, trying to catch up to the rest of the field. And there we go, green flag is in the air, and we are racing from Sonoma Raceway. Morgan Burkhardt in that green, white, and blue machine to the inside, driver's left, slots ahead of the rest of the field as they come through turn number 1, start to head up the hill towards turn number 2. Beans Forster slots back in after it looked like Vaccaro had gotten a real good start. He's going to fall back into 3rd, and Vaccaro already, he's under attack from Josh Soto, side by side right behind him. The orange number 933 of Jim Brewster, the purple 044 of Megan Overstreet, as Brewster gets the better of Overstreet coming down into 3 and 3A as they head down the hill through turn 4. Looked like we had a little bit of a slide there for a moment from Chris Montgomery. He gathers the car back up as they come down through the carousel for the first time, DJ.
and you're seeing just how aggressive these drivers are at the start of the race when everybody is bunched up. That is really a result of the difficulty of overtaking here. As we check a little farther back down in the field following Montgomery and Wozencroft right now, we jump on board with Wozencroft as he tries to maybe be able to get a little bit of a run here down into turn 7. Very, very wide angle up from the 444 of Trenton Kramer, but he's going to be able to keep it together, and they'll stay single file.
And this is where a lot of this becomes single file. You may see some attempts to outbreak going down into the hairpin there at turn number 11. But this whole section here, because of how many times it twists, how many times it turns, and how it is in many cases decreasing radius turns, you need to keep the front end of the car underneath you. You don't see many changes in position, and this early on, I would suspect that we wouldn't see many attempts to pass for position, unless somebody really got the hairpin wrong, DJ. You want to, especially in these short races, ensure that you don't have that front pack check out, but we're already seeing a little bit further back in the field. Looks like Blethen maybe a little bit off the pace there, but Caleb Patry now has already made up 7 positions. We had a quick shot of him. There he is coming out of turn 2 and starting to head down towards turn 3. Caleb Patry already up to 13th.
Yeah, up 7 positions on the day. A very impressive start to the race here for Patry. Now it's just a matter of not doing that, running a little bit wide on the exit of 3A. That'll catch you every time, and that's really a result there, Greg, of just getting on the throttle a hair too early, picking up a little bit of understeer, and it'll just drift the car out wide.
Yeah, and of course, that turn as you come down the hill, it's a bit of a blind entrance as you come over the crest there. And, very difficult. You're a lot of times going on faith, turning in, and if you do get on the throttle just a little bit early, the nose will push wide, as we just saw there from Caleb Patry. Watching right now, there is the purple number 044 of Megan Overstreet. And actually, we're watching right off the back to the 444 of Trenton Kramer, with Overstreet running in 6th, just where she started. Again, she is currently sitting 2nd in the championship, so you're sure she's going to want to make a move and maybe move a little bit further up through the field. But so far, so good, so clean here, as the majority of our drivers have just gotten nose to tail. But already here, DJ, Burkhardt and Forster, they're just with now almost 2 laps in the books, starting to check out with over a 2.5-second advantage on the rest of the field.
Yeah, that's really pretty impressive, and it just comes from a comfortability angle around this circuit. If you feel good about running around here, you're going to be able to push that little bit harder, and you're going to be able to find those extra tenths, those extra half-a-second gaps that you're going to be able to pull out. That's exactly what they're doing, is indeed the last lap of the race. Burkhardt set the fastest lap with a 142.50. Beans was right behind him with a 142.79. Everybody else running in the 143s behind them.
Yeah, and we can see in that second pack there, Josh Soto did manage to get around Charles Vaccaro on lap number 2, so move him up into 3rd position as and he's starting to open things up a little bit on Vaccaro. Vaccaro is really in danger of falling out of the draft, out of the slipstream here. Not that it's all that strong at Sonoma Raceway to begin with, and not that there are many places that you can do anything with it. DJ, because as we see here, especially as the drivers come out of turn 7 and start to, taking a lot of curb there is Morgan Burkhardt.
I think that was a result of Josh Justice getting spun. I'm not sure if there was contact there, if he lost it on his own, but he was perpendicular to the track down through 7 and 7A.
And I think that was Chris Montgomery in the 313 machine along with him. Let's take a look and see exactly what happened. I was watching Burkhardt popping curbs going through the S's, but here they come as they came out of the carousel up to 7. And there you go, as you can see, Montgomery, I don't know if he was just being overly optimistic. If he missed his braking zone, he pulled to the inside. I think there at just the last moment he could, and unfortunately got into the side of Josh Justice.
And it also looks like here that Jim Brewster's had an issue. He was almost taking the old IndyCar layout down through the hairpin. Let's see what happened. He comes down into the braking zone here. Got a sneaking suspicion we're about to see some contact. That's not what I expected, Craig.
No, not at all. And that was, as we just saw there, coming through Charles Vaccaro, who had been up as high as third, ended up impacting the wall coming out of the hairpin. And as he popped off the concrete, there was Jim Brewster to absorb the impact. And it sent him into the staging lanes to go and run the quarter mile. Unfortunately, I don't think that Spec Racer Ford is set up to run the 1320 here tonight.
I don't think it is either, but I'll tell you what, here comes Wozencroft trying to take a look to the outside of Vaccaro right now, going down into turn 7. Not going to play itself out. He's trying to make a move on Gould right now, and there is Vaccaro fighting back. Here they're going to come into the S's. One of them's going to have to blink. It's going to be Charles Vaccaro.
Indeed, and and I'm amazed and surprised here, DJ, that after that hard hit against the concrete, and in real life, I've seen many a car be terminally damaged from impacting the wall like that coming out of the hairpin, that he's actually still able to keep that thing in a straight line and carry speed along with these other drivers.
Yeah, I'm equally surprised by that as well, and I'll tell you what, there may be a little bit of damage on that car because of that impact, but he's certainly not showing it here. No clear steering damage as we look on board there. You can see that steering angle is pretty straight, so I think he got off very, very lucky.
Yeah, you can see that. You can see the little bit of the bodywork there, the fiberglass slightly askew, driver's right, just alongside where the mirror is, where he had the impact with Brewster. But yeah, otherwise the car looks to be in pretty good shape. Now I'm also getting word that Ray Blethen had some issues. Blethen was back, I think, in the around 20th position. Let's take a look. I think we've got that queued up. We can see exactly what happened.
All right, as we jump back here for the replay, this is coming down into the carousel. Just too much speed into the corner, as simple as that. The rear end doesn't comply. It looks like that was another car there just kind of going off in sympathy with him there.
Yeah, and I'm trying to see who that might have been. Yeah, that might have been Joaquin Effinger that had gone wide. We'll take a look here, but look at this. Look at this, DJ. This is Caleb Patry, the 198 machine. He is now up into 6th position. You know, of course, a little bit of that has been helped by Charles Vaccaro's and Jim Brewster's tribulations here, but great run so far as Caleb Patry has made up 14 positions, and we're only working lap number 5.
Yeah, Caleb out here clearly trying to prove us wrong when we say you can't overtake easily here at Sonoma. Caleb says, yeah, watch me, and is doing a great job. He may have another position there up in front of him. Trenton Kramer having a little bit of an issue coming off of the hairpin there, and that's going to allow for Caleb to put all kinds of pressure to the back of the 444.
Oh, and there he goes, and he slides right underneath the 444 as they come down through turn 1 and start to make the run up the hill towards turn 2. And so, DJ, I think this might be payback for us. So last week, when Tim Cox was here with me, we went to interview Caleb Patry after the GR86 race, and he said, talk to somebody who actually had an interesting race, because he jumped out to the lead almost immediately, opened up a gap, and I don't even think we showed him for more than like 20 seconds on the broadcast because he was all by himself. So tonight, I think, is where he realized that you know, if the sponsors want to get any love, he's going to have to start from the back of the field and work his way through the pack, and he's doing a great job of it so far.
Yeah, doing a fantastic job. And I'll tell you else who's doing a good job here. We've seen him kind of up and down through the field, but Andrew Wozencroft here seemingly always in the wars right now. He's working on Bradford Gould. This could get a little hairy here. He's able to get it together, but definitely he is on the attack here, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, indeed, and Jonathan, just as we were switching that mode, was telling us that Deacon Greenfield, driver the number 36 machine, just had an off. He started in 12th position, now finds himself in 18th. Let's take a look. And this is probably coming down into the carousel, that section of the track where so many drivers have issues. And, you know, it looks like almost a replay of what we saw Ray Blethen do just a lap before. I mean, that section of the track, DJ, is so challenging. There, you'll find where many drivers, they'll drive the car in deep, they'll come down the hill, they'll hug the curbing driver's left, and it will kind of suck them into a groove. The challenge that they then have is as they come out, they start to run out of room on the drag strip and have to really fight the car to keep it online. Otherwise, you have, like Deacon did, drivers that will come down the outside, and it is just so hard to get the nose of the car pointed down and to really, as it flattens out a little bit on the outside there, to keep the rear end of the car underneath you as you're trying to counteract the push, and maybe you let off the throttle a little bit, and the weight then just jumps forward and the rear end comes around.
Exactly, and if you're used to seeing other cars around this circuit, GT3, GT4s, or even Cup cars that have occasionally gone down through the carousel there, you may be a little bit surprised, but remember, these Spec Racer Fords don't really have any rear downforce, and that carousel's a pretty quick corner, and so you're taking those speeds through there, and with the narrower tires on these Spec Racer Fords, they're just losing grip as they go down, so you've really got to keep that in mind here as a driver and make sure to properly slow the car down before you get into that left-hander.
Exactly. And it's just exacerbated by the fact that you've got the engine in the back. You don't have the aero downforce. You've got some weight back there, obviously, but when you get out of the brake pedal and all the weight then, or actually even if you get into the brakes late and the weight transfers forward, that rear end just starts to act like a pendulum and will go around on you.
Yeah, it certainly does. Although I'll tell you what, Stevie Ray putting some good moves together there, getting a move done on Trenton Kramer as he's now going to move his way up into 6th place position. Thought for a second there that Trent was going to have a little bit of a fight back coming into turn 1. I think Stevie's got this one in the bag.
There you go. And Trenton Kramer, he's still one position to the good. He started off in 8th, he's currently running in 7th, but he's had Patry go by on the run, and Stevie Ray, who started in 13th position, now finds himself all the way up into 6th as he continues his march. He's only about 3.5 seconds behind Patry, as you can see, as Patry rounds turn 5 and heads down into the carousel.
And here he comes, just trying to be able to keep up a little bit of pressure. We're going to jump back up to the lead of the race here because with 7 minutes to go, despite the gap being 5 seconds over Joshua Soto, Beans Forster and Morgan Burkhardt absolutely in a 2-car battle here at this point.
Yeah, indeed, and you can see all the ground that they have, as you mentioned, almost 5 full seconds back to Josh Soto. And, at this point, as we have only about 7 minutes remaining in this 20-minute sprint race, I think at some point, we're going to have to see Beans Forster start to make some designs there on the lead. Now, he's a little bit further back than he's been maybe for 2 laps, as he's about 2 car lengths back from Burkhardt as they both hug those tires coming through the hairpin, but I almost like to say that time is starting to run out for Forster here, because it may take him 2 or 3 laps to be able to set up a move on Morgan Burkhardt.
Yeah, it certainly might, and normally I would sort of give the advice here to Beans, not that he needs it, but the commentator's advice, let's say, of trying to pressure Burkhardt into a little bit of a mistake, poking your nose this way and that to see if he's able to force an error out of that number 40. But Morgan's been running such a crystal clear, perfect race at this point that I don't think he is really in a position to make that mistake, and I think the impetus here is on Beans to go for the overtake.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We've seen where Burkhardt might take a little bit extra curb. We saw there just a moment ago coming out of 3A where he put a couple wheels in the dirt, but he had the car completely squared up when he did it. He didn't really have any risk of putting the car around when he went in there. And Forster's been, again, he's been holding tight. I think he's been using that draft to stay somewhat close, but we've also seen here DJ, as they come through turn 7 and start to make their way through the S's, this is where Burkhardt typically opens up about an extra half a car length. And that, in many cases, could be all that it takes as they come down through the kink at turn 10 and then under braking down into the hairpin. There he goes. We can see they go through that incredibly fast right-hander behind the drag strip tower and then get hard under the brakes. And Forster managed to make up some ground there. And you can see he's got the nose right underneath the back of the 40 machine. but as he does, Burkhardt is able to just kind of power out of there and open things back up to a car length and a half.
Yeah, and it looked like Beans there maybe testing a little bit on the brakes, seeing how much later he could break over Morgan going down into that final corner, that final hairpin. That's at least what I think he'd do. He's also able to carry some good speed there coming up through turn 2, so he's clearly got the edge here, I think, in the braking zone, and that's going to be some of the calculus here that Beans is doing, trying to get himself ahead.
As you watch now, we've got just 4 minutes remaining here for our first race, and remember, don't go away. When we're done, we're going to come back and have our second race of the evening with our touring cars.
As we take a look here, yeah, it's Andrew Wozencroft working his way down through the corner. Nice little battle here starting to play itself out.
That's right, as Wozencroft trying to work his way past Trenton Kramer and Stevie Ray directly ahead, and Brad Gould part of that little battle as well in the silver and burgundy number 97 machine, holding tough. Gould started in 14th position, then finds himself all the way up in 9th. So good run for him this evening as well. As, oh, look at this, as Stevie Ray runs wide through that double apex right-hander. Trenton Kramer started to come underneath him, and for whatever reason, as maybe Stevie Ray pinched him a little bit coming into that second apex, Stevie Ray was able to get a better run and hold off the blue number 444.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, though, that 444, though, is coming on strong here. Oh, lost a little bit of momentum there coming through turn 10.
And a brake lock up from Stevie Ray. He runs deep, and the 444 comes through. They're side by side coming through the hairpin at turn 11. Stevie Ray, he's got position, and look at this as Wozencroft's going to try to push the number 11 of Stevie Ray through. Cannot get underneath the 444, however, and they are still side by side going up that 160-foot rise into turn number 1. And Wozencroft just doesn't. Wozencroft, as he sees those two fighting, DJ, and he knows they're losing time side by side there's nowhere, absolutely nowhere to put that number 80 machine.
Oh, and that was Gould behind, getting things wrong, and I think Huffman may have made contact with him.
That's, yeah, exactly, as Gould had the rear end step out coming over the crest of the hill, and the 223 machine of Justin Huffman just clipping the back of Bradford Gould. Let's take a look and see how it happened.
I think here we go, rising up the hill. He takes a look down to the inside of Wozencroft, and there's contact there. He was just a little bit too over-aggressive. You've got to feel bad for Huffman there. He just had nowhere to go.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look and see here, because I think we could take a look through the eyes of Justin Huffman in the 223 car, as you know, he's got good distance here. He's got he's got time to adjust. The problem is that you see Gould there, once the rear end stepped out, the wheels were still rolling, and he just rolled right across to where Huffman thought he wouldn't be.
Yeah, exactly. You saw that sort of moments of hesitation there when Huffman decided to go to the outside or the inside, and just obviously went down to the inside, and that was the wrong way to go. But we're on the white flag lap here for Burkhardt and Forster.
And Forster now almost 2.5 car lengths back, maybe as far back as he's been in the last 5, as we are working that last lap as they rise up the crest of the hill there at turn 3, come down towards turn 4, and make that right-hander and start to head down the hill. Time running out for the number 231 machine for our Season 7 Spec Racer Ford champion, Beans Forster, as Morgan Burkhardt looking for another win, looking for his 3rd win in 3 tries, and as they come out of the carousel, he now opens up a 4 car length advantage over Beans Forster. The rest of the field almost 7.5 seconds back. So it is just a 2-car battle here, DJ, as we enter the S's for the last time.
And I think here, if you're Beans, you are just praying for a mistake here out of Morgan Burkhardt. He is not going to be able to get this gap to close down, although he is doing everything that he can do. Look how aggressive he is coming up and over the curbs through turns 8 there, and now down into 9. He is hustling as much as he can, but it looks like Burkhardt may still have this.
As they come through the kink now, Burkhardt with almost a 5-car length advantage now over Beans Forster, and they come hard under braking into the hairpin as they try to avoid those stacks of tires, which are more like concrete, and come now into the final corner onto the short front straight, and taking the checkered flag and taking his 3rd win of the season in Spec Racer Ford. It's Morgan Burkhardt. Beans Forster is going to finish 2nd. Josh Soto in that number 07 machine, he will come home in 3rd, taking the last step on the podium. Megan Overstreet started 6th. She will finish 4th, just off the podium. And right behind her, and only 1.2 seconds back, Caleb Patry started 20th tonight. He will finish in 5th. Stevie Ray will finish in 6th. Andrew Wozencroft spent the last 2 laps trying to find his way around the number 11 machine, could not get it done. Wozencroft will come home in 7th. Charles Vaccaro will bring the number 221 machine home in 8th. Trenton Kramer will come home in 9th in the 444, and Josh Justice rounds out the top 10.
Good race there all the way around, Greg, and I've got to say, I'm impressed here by these drivers, really and truly keeping it pretty clean for the most part around a very, very demanding Sonoma circuit. It just goes to show the level of talent that is existing here in this series.
Indeed, indeed. Very clean running, pretty much from the front to the back of the field. So we've got now Beans Forster. He finished 2nd tonight in Spec Racer Ford. DJ, let's talk to him.
Let's indeed talk to him. Beans, a 2nd place here tonight. It looked like at a couple of points you were trying to spend some moves up on Morgan, but was it just a matter of running out of time to be able to get that move done?
Yeah, I just Morgan was really fast on the second half of the track through the S's and in turn 10, and I just didn't have the pace at the beginning half of the track to make a move down into like turn 7 or anything like that.
Well, how does your approach change when you're dealing with a track like Sonoma that Greg and I were talking about before the broadcast? Is kind of known as a track where you can't really do all that many overtakes. How does your approach change? Does it put more impetus on qualifying, or do you just kind of approach it the same way?
Yeah, definitely qualifying is a bit more of a help at a track like this, but I didn't really get too much luck with the draft during qualifying, so starting P2, I was still sitting pretty good. And I just kind of wanted to stay behind him for the race, maybe kind of analyze his line a little bit and try and find a little bit more speed, but that second half of the track just killed me.
Well, we wish you luck when you head out to the next part here at this point. Obviously, don't want to keep you too long because we know you've got to go qualify for the next one, but anybody you'd like to thank for a 2nd place here tonight?
I just want to thank Full Sim Sims and Team Watson Racing for helping me out with everything I need to get faster.
All right, well, thank you so much, Beans, and we'll see you on the track for this next round.
Yeah, see you guys.
All right, there you go. Beans Forster finishing 2nd tonight in Spec Race Ford, and let's take a moment to talk to our winner from Delta Sport Racing. It's Morgan Burkhardt.
Well, Morgan, you started on the pole, you walked away with the victory. This has got to feel pretty good to be able to stand some authority down here at Sonoma.
Yeah, it does feel pretty good. It was difficult. I mean, the track is very attrition based, so you really got to focus on your driving and your lines and not to drop any tires anywhere. Just be really consistent and smooth with lines. And I was kind of just trying to run away from Beans a little bit in the beginning, get a good enough buffer where if I had a little wiggle or I had a lock up into a corner that I'd be okay, and that he wouldn't really be within striking distance if I got a bad run out of a corner, and kind of just drove to that so I didn't have to over push throughout the race.
Well, talk to me a little bit. With about 4 or 5 laps to go, it looked like Beans was really, really coming on your rear bumper there. Did you have concerns? Did that change your driving style at all, or was it just sticking to the prescribed order from the get-go?
Well, I had started to get the car a little sideways through the carousel and getting a little bit of rear lockup going into the hairpin, so I decided to back off a little bit, let the rear tires breathe, and I was about a 10th or 2 a lap, and then Beans started to get there, and then once he got there, I just kind of put the hammer back down and gave it a little bit until the end.
Gotcha. Well, that explains my big question. We don't want to keep you too long here, Morgan, because qualifying has just started here for the next series, but who would you like to thank on a victory here tonight?
I'd for sure like to thank Majors Garage for all their support, the rest of the All Sports team for hanging out and making all this a good time. Stevie for setting up the league, and you and Greg and Jonathan for putting on a good show for us.
Well, when you guys put on a race like that, it certainly makes our job easy. So, Morgan, thank you so much, and we'll see you in a couple of minutes out on track.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Morgan Burkhardt from All Sports Racing, Delta Sport Racing. I don't even know which teams he belongs to anymore. But taking the win tonight here in Spec Racer Ford, putting his stamp on the championship in this young season, this season number 8. And so, DJ, let's do this. Let's take a quick break. Let's thank some of our partners and sponsors of the Esports Racing League and Apex Racing TV. And when we come back, we'll have our second 20-minute sprint race of the evening. It's going to be the touring cars. It's the GR86s and the Jetta TDI Cup cars here from Sonoma Raceway. We'll be right back. And we're back here at Sonoma Raceway for week number 4 of the Ray Esports Racing League. I'm Greg Ginsburg along with DJ Clark. And DJ, I think the last time you were here with us, we were at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course for mayhem in more ways than one, as we had these Jettas and the Toyota GR86s sharing little old Mid-Ohio. And we had a mixed grid, and it was... I know we had Jonathan on his heels the entire 20-minute race, but it should once again be a neat race here tonight. We're going to do things much like we did at Road America last weekend. We're gonna split the two classes up, which, I mean, for at least 30 to 40 seconds should keep them apart. I think it's going to be a little different here at Sonoma than it was at Road America, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit different. The twisty bits on this circuit are certainly a little bit more plentiful than they are at Road
Yes.
America, so it's going to be a different bit of a challenge. And if we do have some drivers that get held up behind one another, that's going to be real hard for them. We've already talked about how difficult it is to pass around here at Sonoma, and if you're coming up against a car, if you're quicker than a different class car in front of you, if you, per se, are in one of those GR86s, you find yourself at the back of the pack through an incident, it's not going to be easy to work your way through these Jettas, I think.
No, and we've seen in a straight line where the Jettas are definitely the faster car in a straight line. However, as opposed to Road America, not a lot of straight lines here, and there are a lot of turn complexes that could really impact, I think, both races. Wow, look at the paint job delivery there. I think I think that was the 11 machine of Stevie Ray. With the red, the white, or red and blue, and the chrome that he usually runs. Beautiful looking car. But with the Jettas, I can already think as they crest the hill at turn 2, as they come down here through turn 4 and go into that carousel section, they're going to be leaning on the front tires of those cars so amazingly hard. And I can even imagine, given that the Jettas, for the most part, for the amount of tire that they have underneath them, are a little bit underdamped, we'll probably start seeing a lot of wheel hop going through turn 7. That could really impact the drivers in the Toyotas, which have infinitely more cornering speed, I think, under normal circumstances than the Jettas do. It could make for a very wild 20 minutes here.
Yeah, it certainly could, and you talk about this sort of the differences there. Let's not forget that these GR86s, they do have a little bit of a splitter. They do have a more significant rear wing, so there's actually a little bit of downforce being generated by these Toyotas out on track, and I think that's particularly going to come into play through that first sector and through the final sector. We talked last time in the SRFs about how difficult this carousel is because of the lack of downforce. Well, the GR86s should be able to get through there with a little bit more ease. Likewise, going through the S's, they're going to have a little bit of an easier time doing that. Of course, as I say that, we have a GR86 going wildly off track.
Yeah, good timing.
Yeah, there you go. But the one thing that they're going to have to fight against is the aero wash through some of these faster sectors. They're going to have a hard time on this third sector in particular if they're coming up against another car.
Yeah, and that is actually, I think, something that we saw to some extent a couple of weeks ago at Mid-Ohio, as the drivers came out of madness, went down the hill into those S's between turn 6 and 9. And that may be, a question here as well, where the front end of the car might get light. And, if they end up getting parked behind one of those big Jettas with a big hole that they put in the air, it could definitely affect the front end handling of the GR86s. All right, so DJs, we're now almost 2/3 of the way through qualifying. Let's take a look and see where we stand amidst the two different classes here. Giancarlo Schooler, currently your fastest driver in the Toyota GR86s. He's got a provisional pole time of a 1:45.28. Murphy Nichols now leapfrogs Miles Brown. He's got a 1:45.37, and Brown with a 1:45.42. So only about 0.05 of a second separating Nichols and Brown. Kyle Robertson, fourth fastest at a 1:45.8, so a couple tenths off. If we take a look at the Volkswagen Jettas, and want to thank John for putting the timing tower up there and splitting up the two classes. In the Jettas, Morgan Burkhardt, currently the class of the field, fast time for him, a 1:47.74. Seth Spolman, who I think I'm going to say every single time that I think he's dialing in from Korea. He's got a 1:48.52 in the book, second fastest, then Ray Blethen and Mike Snow rounding out the top 4. But once again, a very large Jetta field, and we'll talk in a little bit about why that is so large, and a lot of it has to do with our sponsor, Grass Paddock Motorsports. But real quick, let's take a look back to last week, when we were at Road America. Caleb Patry took the win over Giancarlo Schooler. Margin of victory almost 6.6 seconds. I told you, Caleb Patry told us to interview somebody who actually had an interesting race, and I don't think Patry even came up on any of the Jettas over the course of that 20-minute race. Nagase Yoshikawa had a very interesting race. A couple offs, a couple spins, managed to come home in third with Antonio Rice and Andrew Wozencroft rounding out the top 5. Murphy Nichols, who is currently your second fastest driver here in these cars at Sonoma, finished in 6th position. And if we take a look at the points now, and this is after 2 rounds as they raced again at Mid-Ohio and then also at Road America, Caleb Patry currently up by 10 points over Giancarlo Schooler, 52 points to 42. Yoshikawa with 31. Right back behind Yoshikawa is Murphy Nichols with 30. And then we've got Andrew Wozencroft, Justin Huffman, Jim Brewster, Josh Justice, Will Robbins, Mark Sherman. And if we remember, in that first round at Mid-Ohio, we saw Megan Overstreet. I think she finished 18th overall after having started in the middle of the field, but she moved over to the Jettas last week and did quite well for herself. Through a majority of the race, she ended up having a little coming together, I think, with Stephen Blethen at turn 14. Hopefully they've worked out their differences there. But Beans Forster took the win, and this was, DJ, you have to see the way this race ended up. You know, you've got your typical drag races up the Road America straight, up the hill towards the finish line in so many different classes. But Beans Forster took the win over Morgan Burkhardt by 34 thousandths of a second. And it all came down to Justin Huffman, who finished in 3rd, who sat back with his teammate Burkhardt to driver's left, with his friend Forster to driver's right, and Huffman moved over right behind Burkhardt as they came out of turn 14, and then chose to work with Forster instead, moved back over to the right and pushed Forster up the hill and past Burkhardt. And apparently Burkhardt's still maybe a little salty over that finish, as Huffman finished only 95 thousandths back from Burkhardt in 3rd. Felix Borodati, Seth Spolman rounding out your top 5, with Michael Snow, Frank Schwartz, Derek Marcos, Jacob Schilling, and Megan Overstreet rounding out the top 10. And if we take a look at the point standings now, it is Burkhardt and Forster with 1 win apiece. They are both tied at 46 points. Michael Snow finds himself in 3rd in the championship right now with 29 points. That's 17 points back from our lead pair. Frank Schwartz, who's the proprietor of Grass Paddock Motorsports, currently sitting 4th in the championship with 24. And then we've got Seth Spolman and Trenton Kramer. They are currently tied for 5th with 23 points. And I mean, absolutely, the finish was just absolutely wild. But as opposed to Patry, who ran away with it, DJ, that Jetta race, literally from the drop of the green flag, was just a battle royale. It was amazing.
Well, that's what you love about Road America, is that it seems like no matter what kind of car, no matter what kind of drivers you put out on that circuit, it is always going to be an absolutely fantastic race. And I can only hope that we're going to see something quite as similar here today when we get going for these GR86s and the Jettas. I think we might be. It may not be a straight drag race necessarily as it was at Road America, but I think we're going to see something pretty interesting, as these cars are going to be a little bit more of a handful for everybody to control.
Oh, yes, certainly. And I think even with a shorter 20-minute race, it'll, as opposed to Road America, I think it's going to be the challenge of seeing what these Jetta drivers can do with those front tires and whether or not they can keep them underneath them for the entire 20 minutes as they toss them around this undulating track. As we are now crossing the 15-minute mark, the checkered flag is in the air, and look at this. Caleb Patry in that black, white, and red number 198 machine on his very last lap, just as the clock ticked 15 minutes, turns in a 144.69, 7/100ths of a second clear of Giancarlo Schooler. That's going to move Caleb Patry to the pole. Schooler to the outside of row number 1.
Well, when you're quick, and it doesn't matter if it's 7,000ths or 700ths of a second as it was there, but you love to see that, and I think that narrow of a margin is really going to set up a great race here between the two of them. And let's not count out the rest of the field. There's still some pretty narrow margins down for everybody, so I think we're going to see a pretty good race here tonight.
I'm just so stoked and ready to go. And as we watch here, Murphy Nichols, who is on, I believe, his last flying lap, I think taking a little bit of that dirt there coming through turns 8 and 9, probably going to ruin any chances that he has of moving up to the front row. But we will watch here as he comes around the hairpin for the very last time here in qualifying. He is trying to eclipse a 144.76 to put his car on the front row. As he crosses the line, does he improve? Murphy Nichols with a 145.16, almost a half second off of Giancarlo Schooler's time. Nichols, if things end the way they are, it looks like he will be on the inside of row number 2 as all of our drivers now complete qualifying. And DJ, let's get to the starting grid, and then we've got 2 sponsors for tonight's second race of the evening. So let's take a look here. I'll tell you what, I'll take the GR86s if you'll take the Jettas. Caleb Patry is your pole sitter with a pole time of 144.689. Giancarlo Schooler is going to start right next to him on the outside of row number 1. Then we've got Murphy Nichols and Miles Brown. They're going to make up row number 2. Josh Soto, he's going to start 5th this evening with Kyle Robertson starting in 6th. Row number 4 is going to be John Wilson starting in 7th position in the number 82 car with Brian McRae starting in 8th. Then we've got Deacon Greenfield and Josh Justice. They're going to make up row number 5 for the Toyotas. Then we've got Felix Bordati and Justin Huffman. They're going to start 11th and 12th. And then we've got Stevie Ray in the number 11 machine. He's going to start 13th with Jim Brewster right next to him. Andrew Wozencroft and Charles Vaccaro, they're going to start 15th and 16th. That is row number 8. And then finally row number 9 for the GR86s. It's Mike Taylor with Wayne Buttermore, and finally Mark Sherman starting 19th in the field.
Back down in the Jetta field, it's going to be Morgan Burkhardt lining up in pole position, followed by Seth Spolman. And then it's Ray Blethen and Beans Forrester in row 2 behind them. Row 3 is going to be Michael Snow and Reed Shannabrook, followed by Thomas Pendergrass and Matthew Snow. Frank Schwartz is going to line up 9th, followed by Stephen Blethen with Megan Overstreet 11th and Trenton Kramer in 12th. Row behind them will be Jacob Schilling and Brian Prokoff, and then Joaquin Effinger will round out your 15-car Jetta field.
All right, and as we've got the pace lap underway here at Sonoma Raceway, let's talk about our 2 sponsors for tonight's race. First, sponsoring the GR86s is the Common Gear. The Common Gear is your single source for securely digitizing and storing automotive maintenance records. From photos of maintenance or restoration work to scans of receipts, users can easily catalog every piece of a car's story. Digitize or scan and back up securely in one location. Documenting your diagnostic and repair processes is as important as the work itself. And so with the Common Gear, you can keep track of the steps you take, the parts and experts you use, all the aspects of your car's history. Don't risk losing value in your investment due to lost or incomplete service and repair records. For more information, visit Common Gear at www.thecommongear.com or on Instagram at _common gear. All right, so now let's talk about Grass Paddock Motorsports. Grass Paddock Motorsport provides Mini Cooper race car rentals, trackside support, and coaching at tracks all over the eastern half of the country. GPM provides podium-capable rentals for B-Spec, the fastest-growing class of racing in the SCCA for 3 years running, and the 4th largest class in the SCCA overall. Grass Paddock has a unique approach where their race cars are located near the track you want to race instead of being in a central location, and that way you can avoid large towing fees. Come join us at Grass Paddock Motorsports, where Grass Paddock is not about our location, but about our attitude. For more information, visit www.grasspaddock.com. And just in time here, DJ, we're going to have a little bit more to say about Grass Paddock. We'll talk about it a little bit as the race gets underway. But we've got the pace car now. Seems a little bit slower than in the Spec Racer Ford race. Pops into the pit lane is looked like Caleb Patry was about ready to pit the the pace car there. Patry now has the field, bringing it out of the hairpin. We've got this split start. We'll have the Jettas a little bit further back, but Patry now leading that GR86 field with Giancarlo Schooler on the outside of the front row around turn 12, and green flag is in the air, and we are underway here at Sonoma. Poking to the inside there for a moment was Deacon Greenfield in the 36 machine, but got back in line as they head up the hill towards turn number 2. It's Patry, it's Schooler in the gray number 111 car, then Miles Brown, Murphy Nichols slots behind Brown into 4th, then Josh Soto. As we've got the Jettas, well, the Jettas didn't start all that much further back. I thought there was going to be a little gap, as Morgan Burkhardt now is already on the back of the GR86 field with Seth Spolman right behind, and going for the wild ride. Who is that? That is Reed Shannabrook in the number 14 machine. He gathers that car back up, and he's going to slot in behind Frank Schwartz. But you know, DJ, I was hoping maybe for a little and going around and some contact. Oh my gosh. And that is Felix Bordati, I think, in the 59 machine. And wow, it looks like, well, basically when VW had to recall all those TDI cars, they're all over, they're parking them on the drag strip. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness gracious. That is the worst way to have an incident there coming out of the carousel. You mentioned it earlier, Greg, a blind corner,
yes.
Nowhere for anybody to go. And there's a couple of engines that are about ready to explode here.
Yeah, well, we can see there's a couple, you know, diesel smoke, but not, and I think that's, is that Morgan Burkhardt with the smoking card? Yeah, that is Morgan Burkhardt. Now, diesel smoke, but in iRacing, they typically don't smoke that much unless that engine is about ready to blow. And it looks like he might have grabbed maybe a lower gear than he needed, but he still has an advantage, as now it looks like Michael Snow has just run wide coming through the S's there, and we see a lot of our drivers now heading into the pit lane. In iRacing, we do give these drivers, I believe, one fast repair, DJ, so they should be able to get into their pit stalls, although this is a very long pit lane, and get some repairs done and head out. It looks like that second car in line actually had no hood. And let's take a look and see how this mayhem unfolded.
All right, as we try to get a view here, there it looks like that is Bordati getting out and around. Take a look a little farther back down in the field here as we try to pull.
Yeah, you know, and it looked as though, you know, most of them got around Bordati. There was a little bit of an impact with one of the cars there, but, you know, the mayhem actually began after they cleared that incident and started to work their way onto the drag strip as just cars started going off. And I think as they tried to adjust their lines, DJ, and try to get around the Bordati car through the carousel, a lot of the cars, in particular the Jettas, you know, just got that terminal push and ended up in the dirt, and you know, again, mayhem unfolded. You know, let's take a look here. This will give us a better view.
Yeah, I can't tell if that was a little bit of netcode contact there to start everything off, but then there you can see the problem. And as you said, understeer there being developed by the Jettas and just piling on into each other. Really no room for any of them to go because you're on full throttle there coming out of the carousel and you're just developing a lot of understeer. Here is exactly what happened to Morgan Burkhardt. Let's ride on board with this. You can see that spinner in front of him, tries to watch out for it, kind of able to get out of the way, and then I think we're about to see a big clobber in front of him.
Oh my. and I like to we've got Eric Yeagle in the chat, who I know fairly well from club racing, and he says he thinks he sees his motorhome in the background over there. He says that it looks like an SVR. DJ, you were worried about talking about other sanctioning bodies. He said it looks like an SVRA race with all the oil out there. But yeah, I mean, you could see Morgan Burkhardt got caught up in that incident as well. He was one of the drivers who ran up the hill along with everybody else. But in the meantime, here as we come back to reality, or I guess maybe I guess it's virtual reality. Caleb Patry now is your leader with Giancarlo Schooler running in second. This is the GR86s. Again, we do have two different races going on. Miles Brown running in third with Murphy Nichols fourth. In the Jettas, Tom Pendergrass now in that blue number 23 machine. He has managed to open up a 3.5 second advantage back to the battle for second. Matt Snow and Reed Shannabrook, the two black cars, they're side by side, and this is the kind of Jetta race that we saw at Road America last week, DJ, as you know, it is the battle for second right now between Shannabrook, Snow, Schwartz, Stephen Blethen, and Megan Overstreet as well. And let's toss one more in there, Jacob Schilling in the 85 machine, sitting right back behind the purple car, as they are looking to hopefully complete lap number 3 here unscathed, as going around, and that is a lot of damage. That's John Wilson in the 82 machine.
And I believe there was another car that was wound up in that as well. I'm not entirely sure who it was. It may have been McRae, looking back down through the order, but definitely some of those GR86 drivers getting caught out coming down through the S's. We give a look now to Kyle Robertson. This is up in 5th place. Joshua Justice trying to close in on him in the number 99.
As they roll down the hill and head down towards that carousel. And it looks like in the pit lane right now, John Wilson, and you know, and I was wondering when we saw Wilson hit the wall there, we saw the smoke out of that GR86. I was wondering if that was just a head gasket issue, but you know, one of those flat, one of those boxer Subaru motors, but maybe not. Wilson is in the pits. Frank Schwartz is in the pits as well. All right, let's take a look and we'll see what happened to the number 82 machine. He just dropped the wheel there coming through the S's. It looked like there was another car off already. Oh, wow, and he got into Joaquin Effinger.
Oh, and that
he got
298.
Effinger twice, yeah.
Yeah, that was a completely unrelated incident. Maybe a little bit of incident fixation there as he saw the car spinning and just lost concentration for a minute. You've got to be fully committed coming through that corner. But, wow, this, frankly, is a little bit more of what I suspected here when we were coming to Sonoma. This is what you see. A lot of drivers getting it wrong. When I was up here last year, this was the story. Drivers putting a wheel off, getting into the wall, getting off into the grass and trying to recover, and the driver that makes the least mistakes was the one that won the race in the end.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, DJ, that I remember a certain touring car race with SRO here last year, where that corner in particular was catching a lot of people up. Oh, there's contact there between Matt Snow in the green number 13, the green, that's actually Stephen Blethen in the green 150 machine, with Matt Snow directly ahead as they were coming through the hairpin. A little bit of contact there as they head back up the hill. Again, this right now is the battle for second. And we've got that looks like Wayne Buttermore having some problems there coming out of turn number 2, as all the Jettas, or most of the Jettas, seem to sneak by.
And I think we're going to go back here and take a look at the replay of exactly what happened to Wayne Buttermore. Now, this is coming down into turn 1. Everything looks nice and good. Little bit of a bobble there, though. Trying to get on the binders. That pushes him out a little bit wide. That almost looks like a hardware failure, honestly.
Yeah. You know, and unless you know, the only thing I could think of is he was giving way to that car that came underneath him, and it just gave so much ground that there was just no way that he could get the car rotated and head up the hill, seeing that he was so far out. Let's look at this though. This is a neat little battle going on right now. This is the battle for 5th in the GR86s. We've got Josh Soto trailing Josh Justice. The two Joshes. Josh is in the blue and black number 99. Soto in the 07 machine. We saw Soto just finish up on the podium in the Spec Racer Fords, and Justice trying to turn in very early at the hairpin there. Somehow managed to gather things up without Soto getting by, but you can see he's definitely playing a very defensive game right now with the 07 car.
Yeah, it almost looked like he unintentionally tried to diamond off that final hairpin. He's going to be able to hold it together here. Good line coming out of turn 2. And now I think Soto's going to have to wait a little bit. He's not really going to have a good overtaking opportunity until they come down out of the carousel. Oh, got to be careful with that. Soto is pushing like nobody's business up onto 2 wheels there, coming up over 3A. He wants 5th place.
Yeah, you know, and these GR86s, they are known for their extreme weight transfers and how it can really affect the handling of the car. I wasn't necessarily expecting him to roll the car over, but yeah, he's definitely pushing. And speaking of pushing, Josh Justice gets pushed all the way to the outside on the exit of the carousel, and he's at risk of giving up not just 2, but 3 positions as both Soto and Stevie Ray get past the 99 car. And now indeed, it looks like Wozencroft trying to sneak by as well. For a moment, Wozencroft had the nose up, and he is side by side right now with Josh Justice. I said you didn't really want to go 2 by 2 through the S's here, but Wozencroft gets the pass done, move him now up into 8th position. Wozencroft has made up 7 positions here since the start of the race.
And I want to draw some attention here to Miles Brown in that 333 right in between this. Look at the damage on the front of that car. He's got some pretty hefty knocks there, and the fact that he's able to keep this going the right way, and indeed, as Josh Soto makes a mistake coming down and through the hairpin, get a position, that is some impressive car control here from Brown.
And the question is, with all that damage in the front, obviously Aero is going to be a bit deficient here, whether or not he can carry speed along this straightaway and up the hill. And you can see where Soto's able to recover. But, you know, again, it is so difficult to work your way past these cars. You know, he's got a definite advantage here in at least trying to hold on to 6th position. Hey, so real quick, DJ, I wanted to mention, you know, we talked about Grass Paddock Motorsports coming on this season to sponsor the Jettas here. Oh, yeah, actually, we'll get back to that in a second there, as we look at this this little fight here. Is looks like Josh Justice might have had the car walk away from him just a little bit. You can see as he's now falling back a couple more positions. Justice now falling back into 10th. As Soto and Brown, and look at this deep lunge by Brown going into turn 7, and he's got position on Soto. And he's just doing a great job of positioning the car, again, given the fact that it's got a decent amount of damage there.
Yeah, and this is the area of the track where I would really expect Brown to have some problems without the benefit of that fully intact front splitter. And indeed, you can see Josh Soto just absolutely climbing the curbs all over the back of him. But Miles Brown just positioning the car exactly where he needs to. Now going to come off on the defensive line down to the inside of the hairpin. He's going to make Soto go the long way around. Soto's going to look for the over-under here, but Brown makes it stick. This is impressive stuff here out of the 333.
Yeah, and he gets a great exit out of the hairpin. That's 2 laps in a row. As you can see, he's able to stick the car down at the curb. And now that he's gotten around Soto, Soto has very few choices on this part of the track to try and muscle his way by. Maybe again, as they head down through the carousel, and you know, the typical place is going to be to try and outbrake going into turn 7. But talking about Grass Paddock Motorsports, and maybe we could jump back to that great battle that we're having with the Jettas as well. That battle for second in the Jettas with Shanna Brook and Snow. Here, I wanted to talk for a moment about Grass Paddock Motorsports, because DJ, you know, not only have they come on to provide basic sponsorship here at the Esports Racing League, but Frank Schwartz, who's racing with us here tonight, and Grass Paddock, they've got a great offer that they are going to be giving away 2 free rides in their touring car or B-Spec Mini Coopers. They're going to be giving 1 away to a licensed racer and 1 to a non-licensed racer, for the non-licensed racer, so that they can go and complete a competition licensing school and get their racing license with either the SCCA or another sanctioning body. And likewise for a licensed racer, a race weekend in one of these Mini Coopers, either with SCCA or Grid Life or another organization. And this is not an award that's going to be given away at the end of this season. It is going to be given away at the end of 2023, and there are 3 people on the decision committee. It's going to be Frank Schwartz, it's going to be Stevie Ray from Ray Esports, and myself. And you know, we're looking for conscientious drivers, drivers that don't drive above their heads. We're obviously looking for, you know, participation. You don't need to show up every weekend, but you know, this is a great opportunity to go from the virtual, especially if you don't have a competition license, to go from the virtual world to the real racing world as well. So I want to thank Frank Schwartz and Grass Paddock for these 2 wonderful prizes. As we jump back again here to this battle, and looks like as we're watching now, Josh Soto, and just ahead of Soto is Andrew Wozencroft and Miles Brown. I'm jumping back to 10th position, and I don't see Josh Justice any longer. And Josh Justice finds himself in the pits, DJ.
Yeah, as we're going to check out the replays, exactly what happened to Justice. This is coming down through turn 8, down through the S's. Big clobber the curb there. He's going to be able to get it woed up underneath him, but touches the grass, and hard lick into the outside there, and he is stuck.
Yeah, and you know, and that's where we had seen John Wilson's problems begin a couple laps ago. Now, Wilson had enough tank slappers to carry him down almost all the way towards turn 10, but you see how hard he hits the wall. Let's take a look from the eyes of Josh Justice.
Yeah, you see that little snap of oversteer there that he's having to correct for. It just runs it a little bit wide, and just that little of a touch there onto that outside dirt, that is enough. You see him trying to put it in reverse. He is stuck there into the tire barriers and has to take a tow back down into pit lane.
Oh, that is a shame. We now have a little bit under 4 minutes remaining in this 20-minute Toyota GR86 and Volkswagen Jetta race, Touring 3, Touring 4 as we'd like to call them. And Caleb Patry is your leader in the GR86s, and you know, where Giancarlo Schooler, he was holding strong for the first number of laps. He is now fallen almost a little bit more actually than 4.5 seconds back from Patry, and he is now under attack from Murphy Nichols, that white number 5 machine coming up onto the back of the 111 car. And Nichols, last couple laps, has been making up some ground. This last time by was almost 0.7 of a second faster than the 111 machine.
Yeah, it looks like Murphy here at this point is just in the groove, able to push himself around and really able to put pressure onto the back of Schooler. And I think at this point, if you are Murphy Nichols, be content with where you are. You're up into a podium position. That's nothing to shake a stick at. But just apply some of that pressure that we've talked about to the back of Giancarlo Schooler. See if you can force an error. And I love what he did right there. Just had his car about a half a lane down to the right, going into the hairpin, deliberately trying to fill up those rear view mirrors of Schooler. See if you can get him to outbrake himself going down in a hairpin. That's exactly what he needs to be doing at this stage.
All right, and as they cross the stripe one more time and start lap number 11 once again, very tightly matched there. And look at even here, Murphy Nichols making a little bit earlier move to the apex at turn number 2. You know, maybe to just draw Schooler's eyes away from looking forward, maybe cause him to look back just a little bit, and you know, at least for a moment, consider whether or not Nichols is going to try to make a pass in maybe an unconventional place, like even there coming down into turn 4.
Yeah, I mean, that may be the way to go, is Schooler's going to know the areas where he is going to be able to get those overtakes done. And so I think for Nichols, he's going to have to just try to make them at places that he wouldn't normally expect. And that may be the way to get on by, is here coming down out of the carousel into turn 7. It doesn't quite look like Nichols has got the run, but the problem is I think he's only going to have one more lap to go at the line.
Yeah, indeed, as we're now almost 19 minutes into this race. They're going to have one more lap to go at best. Let's jump a little bit further back. This is now the battle for 4th position as Miles Brown continues to hold off the cadre of folks behind him. He's got directly behind him now Andrew Wozencroft. And Wozencroft, and again, some of these positions, we had a number of drivers move up due to that early lap 1 incident, but Wozencroft, having started 15th in the field tonight, now up into 5th position. And he had just gotten around Robertson as we are working the last lap now as Caleb Patry takes the white flag. 1 lap to go here at Sonoma. And Josh Soto, you can see he was right up there with Robertson and Brown for the while. He now falls back, and looks like he might have had an off coming through the S's here, which has really just been biting everybody tonight.
Yeah, it certainly has. And there we see, again, just taking the aggressive line on those curves. Catches a little bit of the grass there on the entrance curve there, coming through. Lucky boy to be able to hold on to that car. That was some amazing car control.
Oh my gosh, yes. I didn't think he would catch that. We've seen multiple drivers there so far tonight that popped that curb, got into the dirt, and weren't able to save it. Josh Soto, he lost a lot of ground. He now finds himself back in 8th position, but he's still now on 4 wheels, at least for the moment, as we watch now starting the very last lap here in the Jettas. Tom Pendergrass crossing the line, and whereas Pendergrass had almost a 2.5-second advantage, DJ, that is now gone. He's got Reed Shannabrook coming up the hill. There's a lapped car between them. That yellow car is a lapped car, but Reed Shannabrook in the black number 14 now only a couple seconds back from Pendergrass here on the last lap. Is Pendergrass? Wow! Did you see Pendergrass take that curve?
No. And there you saw him doing a little bit of off-tracking as well on the exit of turn 3A. I think that may have cost Shannabrook any chance to be able to get the move done here, as it looks like it's slipping through his figures.
All right, coming out of the final corner, he's got Josh Justice, a couple folks behind him, but Caleb Patry, for the 2nd round in a row, the 2nd week in a row, is going to take the win in the GR86s. Here is the battle right now, a little bit further back, and look at this. Miles Brown still holding off Andrew Wozencroft as they come down to the final corner. Oh, and contact. Kyle Robertson getting into the side of Andrew Wozencroft there on the very last lap, on almost the very last corner. Or was that Soto that he got into? No, that was Wozencroft that he got into. But it is going to be Caleb Patry, Giancarlo Schooler, Murphy Nichols should come home with her. Let's take a look at the replay here, DJ. Wow.
Yeah, this just looked like a little bit of an overly ambitious move down to the inside. He saw that opportunity there. A little bit of a slide from Wozencroft, it has to be said. But at the same time, that number 15 machine, I think that door was always going to close.
Indeed. So it's Patry, Schooler, Nichols, Miles Brown with a great run from Brown. But here we go. Taking the win in the Volkswagen TDI Cup cars, Tom Pendergrass, driver of the number 23 machine. Reed Shannabrook a little bit further back there in that black number 14. He's going to come home in 2nd. Matthew Snow, there he goes, Snow in the number 13 machine. It was lucky for him tonight. He comes home in 3rd. Morgan Burkhardt, who started off on the pole and launches himself. Oh, yeah, that was actually very impressive, and you know, not all that much unlike what happened to him on lap 1, DJ. But Morgan Burkhardt, he will finish just off the podium in 4th. Megan Overstreet will finish in 5th in the Volkswagen Jettas. And is this going to be a replay of the launch here? Yes, it is.
You know, I've been on iRacing for a hot minute. I've obviously known about the Bathurst jump. I didn't know about this. Ow.
Neither did I.
Ow.
He almost cleared the fence.
He almost did. He almost got, I think if you get a little bit of a more high-powered car, you can make it work.
I think you could do it, yeah. That was amazing. All right, let's go. Here we go. Let's take a look at the results here. Again, Patry, Schooler, Nichols, your top 3 in the Toyota GR86s, with Miles Brown, Andrew Wozencroft, your top 5. Tom Pendergrass finishing 9th overall, takes the win in the Jettas with Reed Shannabrook, Matt Snow, the rest of your TDI Cup podium. Then we've got Morgan Burkhardt, Megan Overstreet, your top 5. But let's do this, DJ. I think we've got some folks lined up now in the green room. Why don't we start off with, Well, we've got Reed Shanabrook sitting in the green room here. Let's talk to him.
Let's talk to him indeed. Reed Shanabrook, a second place there in that Jetta race. It looked like you were so close to being able to catch on to the back there of the leaders, but talk me through that race.
Well, I kind of lost it at the start there. I hit a curb and was pretty much in last. So I just kind of slowly worked my way through. There's a huge crash, I think, in the GR86s. And I literally just downloaded this track, so I was kind of using what I remembered from Gran Turismo and was getting a little bit faster, I think, as I was going on.
Okay, I'm very impressed if you just downloaded this track, but what are some of your impressions here running in this low downforce car like the Jetta? I'd imagine this is a real handful around here.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. I'm not really used to the front-wheel drive cars, so I was kind of managing the understeer, especially like mid-corner and corner exit, but it was fun. I had a good time.
Well, Reed, a great run for you here tonight. This is certainly something to hang your hat on. Who makes it possible? Who'd you like to thank?
Well, thanks to all the sponsors and, thanks to my friends and family. Thanks to all those people that make it possible for me.
All right, well, Reed, thank you so much. A second place here in the TDI category, and congratulations once again.
Yeah, thank you guys for hosting.
All right, there you go. Reed Shanabrook taking home second place tonight in the TDI Cup cars, driving the number 14 machine. Let's now bring in Tom Pendergrass. DJ, he was your winner tonight in T4 in those Jetta TDI Cup cars.
He was indeed, Thomas, a victory here in the Jetta Cup cars. That's got to feel pretty good walking away from it, especially having a little bit of pressure there from Reed near the end of the race.
Yeah, it was an interesting start. I'm not very fast in qualifying, but I knew I could make some places up on lap 1 and see some gaps, but then the seas just parted for me. So yeah, kind of an interesting start, but then just had to manage the race.
Well, talk to me a little bit about that start, because we're watching a replay right now of the, well, for lack of a better word, calamity that took place in front of you. What was going through your mind trying to clear that minefield?
Yeah, well, I was really aggressive going into the carousel and got to the inside, and then I could kind of see everybody starting to kind of spin to the outside. So I'm like, I'm just going to go to the dirt here and stick to the wall and hope everything kind of goes to the outside, which it did. And that's somehow I made it through unscathed.
And, we were just watching the replay of that, Tom, and there was a GR86 who I think had the exact same idea as you and got into the dirt and somehow just hooked back to driver's right just inches before you got to his trunk. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I think I saw that guy too, but yeah, that's the nice thing about front wheel drive. You just keep your foot planted and you won't spin. So a little harder to do that move with rear wheel drive.
Certainly, but you made it work. You walked away with a victory, and I've got to ask you, who makes this possible?
Well, I'd like to thank my buddy Raymond. We started racing together like when everything shut down in 2020, and just had some amazing battles in the Jetta. So even though he was a lap down, we still had a little back and forth, which was a lot of fun, kind of like old times. So yeah, that's what's awesome about these Jettas, is they just race so well together.
Well, I can certainly attest that they race well. I love seeing the action out on track and love seeing you be able to walk away with the victory. Congratulations again, Thomas.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for putting on a great show.
Oh my gosh, and as we finish up that interview, thanks so much, Thomas. Watching Tom Pendergrass drift through turn 10, and actually Frank Schwartz with the exact same move right behind him. Just absolutely a clinic here on how to drive a front-wheel drive car. All right, so thanks again, Thomas. Let's now move over to our GR86 field, and we're going to start off with, let's see here. Let's start off. We've got Murphy Nichols, we've got Giancarlo Schooler, and we've got Caleb Patry. Why don't we do this? I think we've got a tiny bit of time here. Let's bring in first Murphy Nichols, who finished third tonight and was really battling for that second position all night long here in the GR86s.
Yes, indeed. Murphy, a great result for you here on the day. You were able to finish where you qualified, but looked like at the end of that race, you were really trying to put some moves to the back of Giancarlo.
Yeah, no, I had pace. but it just kind of helped me because I was like, all right, I can stick with him. But I also know that passing at this track is virtually impossible, at least without some sort of either far back send or just obnoxious move that most of the time is never going to work. So I was just kind of hoping he would make a mistake, trying to slide the nose through and make the pass stick, but good on him for defending, and I couldn't really make it work. But that being said, I will gladly take a top 3 because that's a really good finish for me, a good confidence booster.
Well, speaking of confidence boosters, as we go into really the second half of this season and start to work your way around, I'm curious what you're looking forward to. If there's any tracks that you've got circled that you're really looking to have a good impact on.
I know Summit Point is obviously going to be a really good one for me, being my home track. Barber, I'm actually really looking forward to. I think I can do some damage there. VIR, I think, could be good for me as well. I have a really good setup for that track and put in a good bit of time in this car, although I also know a lot of other people have as well. Watkins Glen may be a little bit iffy. I just know, especially in the 8.6, that can be very it's very draft heavy, so like it almost feels like a Spec Auto race where it's like every lap it's somebody different leading. And then Laguna Seca, I'm glad that's the runoffs because I feel that's a strong track for myself as well. I've always had really good performances there, or I've always had a really good pace there, and I've always been up front no matter what car I've been in. So the fact that it's all of them helps me that much more, I would think.
Well, I'm going to be looking forward to those, and we'll have your name circled there certainly at Summit Point, a few of the others. But as for tonight, who would you like to thank? Who makes this possible?
All the guys at Fourth Dimension Fun Center for making this happen. Also the guys up at Wise Markets, and you guys for putting on a great broadcast. Excuse me. My parents, everybody at Smoketown, and just the SCCA and Ray for putting all this together and putting on a great series. And I really hope more people discover this series and really helps this grow, because I could see this series becoming more of a big thing. I'm not going to say it isn't a big thing, but I can see the series growing within a couple years.
Well, I certainly hope that they find it as well. It's one of my favorite series to cover. Murphy, a 3rd place. Congratulations, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
All right, let's now bring in Giancarlo Schooler, finishing 2nd tonight in the GR86s.
Giancarlo, a 2nd place there. It looked like for a while you had the pace to keep up with your teammate Caleb, and then you fell back a little bit in a couple of hairy moments, maybe getting attacked by Murphy Nichols. But what was it like from behind the wheel?
Yeah, feeling a bit under the weather at the moment, so not a great race for me, I'll be honest. It started to get to me about 10 minutes in. That's when I started to drop back from Caleb, and at that point I was just trying to hold on to 2nd place, which I did, so I'm just happy about that.
Well, you were able to hold on to it and keep that going, and I'm curious here, how you found racing around Sonoma in these GR86s. Obviously, the GR86 series is going to head here in just over a month's time, so I'm trying to get a little intel.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great track for these cars as far as driving goes. Passing is a little difficult, but I think these cars will create a great race in real life. I'm really excited, looking forward to it.
I can certainly tell you I am as well. But Giancarlo, a 2nd place. You were able to hold off that attack from Murphy. Who makes this possible?
Shout out to Delta Sport. Shout out to all my family and friends for supporting me. And it was a great race with Caleb and Murphy. So thank those guys as well. And thank you guys for putting the show on. And yeah.
All right, Giancarlo. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time out.
See ya.
All right, there you go. And so let's wrap things up tonight, DJ, by bringing in the man of the, the man of the hour, the man of the half hour, the man of 20 minutes. I don't know. Caleb Patry, our winner tonight in the GR86s.
Caleb, another pretty dominant victory there for you out on track. Talk us through that.
Thanks. It wasn't exactly easy. I had JC there for a bit, and then looked like he was kind of making a few mistakes, dropping back. Then this track definitely is difficult to find your rhythm. It's very hilly, a lot of off-camber corners. So struggled a little bit there, but thankfully just able to keep it together and pull away.
Well, you were able to pull away, and we talked a lot about tonight how minimizing the mistakes around here is really the crucial way to go. And I'm curious how you maybe change your preparation coming into a track like this where you're not going to be able to overtake, and you've got to really keep everything together. Do you change the way you approach this race, or is it like every other one?
In the sense that in the way I drive the car, yes. I know this car definitely likes hard straight line braking. But here with just all the elevation change and the weird corners, braking deep usually ends up in you blowing the corner. So here you gotta brake a little bit more conservative, drive a little bit more conservatively. A little bit more conservatively than you would anywhere else. So that's pretty much the only mental thing I changed coming into this race.
Well, all right. It certainly worked out for you, Caleb, but another victory here in the GR86s. Who would you like to thank?
Well, certainly Steve Ray and everybody who puts these events on. Apex Racing TV, you guys for these awesome broadcasts. And my teammates, shout out to JC, Morgan, Murphy, and everybody at Delta Sport.
All right. Well, Caleb, another victory. Congratulations once again. We'll see you next time out.
Thank you.
All right, thanks so much for joining us here in the commentary booth, Caleb. And so, DJ, let's wrap things up here for the evening after what turned out to be after a calming first race in the Spec Racer Ford. Turned out to just be pure chaos here in our second race. But we're going to be at it one more time, actually many more times, not just one more time. We're going to be at it next week, next Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time, as is our want. We're going to be heading down to Barber Motorsports Park. We're going to have our Mazda MX-5s start off the night, and we're going to be finishing up with the Spec Racer Fords. So definitely remember to join us here on Apex Racing TV next Tuesday night and every Tuesday night for some great racing action. So for DJ Clark and for Jonathan Grabowski, I'm Greg Ginsburg. Have a great week, everybody.